Happy Tuesday, December 13th. 12 days till Christmas. Woohoo! This is another impromptu. I wasn't going to stream tonight, but I had a couple of, maybe about a half hour to kill before I start working on some other stuff for our sales and stuff like that. So I figured I would see what was going on. Hasn't been a big news day. Most of the news hit last week. Most of it was bullshit. So, you know about that. The fallout from stuff that's been going on last week is still reverberating until we hear it from certain individuals. A lot of it is just conjectured. I've had a couple like online discussions with people today, mainly about the trades because I guess there's another our information sources. I guess not just the trades, it's information sources. So we get these things from some of these sources I haven't heard of. Some of them have been around quite a while, but right now all the trades, all the scoopers, all the reliable sources with the big giant YouTube channels, I'm putting them all into one pot, mainly because in the face of an actual official from the company, their word doesn't mean shit. All these outlets, and like I said, we went on our overnight Saturday night show. The thumbnail literally had a trash can with Variety and Hollywood Reporter and Rolling Stones, not because those aren't respected establishments over the decades, but at this point in the game, there are level playing field with a lot of people that just put out garbage and do nothing but put out just enough information just to keep the fire going. And I've watched over the last 5 years what kind of effect that has had on people. And ultimately, I don't blame these outlets. I don't blame these news sources. I blame the audience. I blame the fans. At some point, the fans got to get smarter and figure out that you're basically, like I said to someone today, these trades and these sources are basically, they're using a laser and they're pointing it at a wall, and we the fans are the dummies that keep following that laser everywhere that goes. You know what? They put out just enough to give us a bunch of anxiety, and it's become destructive. People literally have built a YouTube industry on spreading this shit, and it's just like it all it does is raise your blood pressure over imaginary characters, aliens, and comic book characters. So yeah, there was another one today. I forgot what the name of it was, but apparently they put out a story about the truth about Black Adam's numbers, and that Dwayne Johnson was supposed to it was in hot water with Warner Brothers. I mean, something to that effect. But I'm like, then I see the source of it, and I'm like, it's just another one of these guys that literally profits off of your angst. And like I said, it's not like the old days where if people were to put out some of the things that these trades have put out, they would have been fired. All right. Like I explained the other day, the Rolling Stone hit job that they put out, the 2 Rolling Stone hit jobs. The people like that, like I said, I'm an old guy, call me old, but I come from an era where you had journalistic integrity, and if you weren't going to put out a whole truth, you didn't put out anything. And if you put out the half truth, there was a word for you. It's called tabloid, and tabloids just didn't get the kind of respect that normal respected trades did. Now the line has been blurred, and these guys are pretty much all drinking out of the same toilet, in my opinion. So all right, let me go to this. This is my time of night, RJ. This is generally when I get done from whatever I'm doing, whether it be my outside gig or the center. I generally hit the house in around this time, unless it's when we're doing the overnight show. I really do like to do the overnight show from the store because the lighting is better, the sound is better. I'm not doing it in a makeshift situation that I'm sitting here. I bought these things for the house just so that I could respond to things quicker when they happen. But right over there, you guys can't see it now. I'm actually building a little studio space that'll have a different background. It'll have different lights, and I'll have a different camera. Right now, we're using an integrated camera that is from this computer. It's pretty decent, but it's not as good as our actual focus cameras. And then I'll have a different mic setup that'll come down lower. And I'm working on adding on the equipment. But I'll probably be working that on Christmas Eve. And then, I'll spend half the day working on that. Hopefully by the beginning of the new year, I have my new setup done. So I don't think it's going to look as great as it does at the center, but because there's a lot of cool things there, but it'll be acceptable. How you doing, Aztec? Aguilar, Aaron, how you doing? Marcus Cruz, Nat Pixel, Ruin. I don't watch My Hero Academia, so I couldn't. I'm not an expert on that one. Netflix is turning into a joke these days. Wow, a lot of heat for Netflix today. Probably Marcus with their distributor, Legendary Pictures, is making it. There you go. All right, I'll maintain that the trades are about the closest to the actual source we'll ever see. I mean, 99% of the time, okay, dude. At one point, 99% of the time was the standard. You had even 97 was your margin per error. I don't think they're even close. And to be honest with you, and I'll finish what you said, unless it's an op piece, the trades have veteran. I wouldn't even give them 95. And here's the thing, I don't even think they're trying to reach that threshold. That is no longer the goal with some of these guys. And not just the trades. Like I said, I put them all in the same denomination. They're not trying to hit that 100%. They're not trying to get within that margin of error. They're putting out just enough information to have people pull their heads out or pull their hair out, depending on how long your hair is. 99% was back when I was a kid. 99% was back when I was a young adult. And because if you didn't get 99%, your credibility was on the line. People didn't go back to you if you gave them bad information or you gave them half information. They just didn't go back to you. And that hurts sales of your copies. That hurts your magazine sales. That hurts your credibility. You know, and once your credibility as a journalist is gone, you're basically a tabloid. But unfortunately, what's happened because of the access of the internet, it's all tabloids. The credible trades are now racing to the bottom to outrace TMZ, to outrace any tabloid that's around there. And they have to get that information out first. Their credibility now no longer comes from putting out whole information. It comes from putting out the first information. And I don't think that's good. And like I said, it's not just the trades. And it's a lot of these guys who've made this into an industry, whether it be on Twitter, YouTube, or now elsewhere. All right. But even still, even though I am 100% critical of them, I am always going to put the weight on the fan, the consumer, to be smarter. I can't blame the trades for putting out bullshit if you open up your mouth wide and swallow it. All right. You're creating the demand for bullshit. They're giving you the bullshit. Who's to blame? It's like the war on drugs. You know, they don't risk hundreds of years in prison getting those drugs up from all these different places because there's not a market here. All right. The demand for drugs is what drives the war on drugs. All right. The demand for half-ass bullshit is what drives these guys to do this. You, the fans, have determined what their output is. All right. And all they're doing is making the adjustment. Some really good historical magazines and trades have made the TMZ adjustment in order to get clicks, in order to exist in the digital age. And I think that's not good, you know? So scoopers, poopers, yeah. And like I said, I put them all in the same level because I think because of the fandom gets their information equally from all these guys. I mean, if Hollywood Reporter puts out half-ass information, we don't even think, doesn't even occur to us that other half that's not in that article might be critical. And maybe you as a fan, before you go jumping off the bridge, no, I probably shouldn't use that analogy with, you know, suicides and everything else being such an important thing on our mind. But before you go running into a wall or driving yourself crazy, nobody considers what's missing. That article, like I said, I hate to keep going back to that article from Hollywood Reporter last week was fucking wretched. Not in what it said, but the conjecture and literally the holes that my big ass could literally cartwheel through. But yet people took that article and acted like it was Moses with the tablets. All right? The fans got to be smarter. I always see people going after scoopers. I always see people going after this person, that person, and this person's clout, you know, chasing like that. I'm like, well, wait a minute. They're fueled by people who fall for it. We're all sitting in front of computers. We all have some level of intelligence and common sense. Fucking use it. If that happens, there's two things that need to happen in order to really, really get this news shit under control. All right. First of all, everybody that has a company and has relevant news to put out, every studio needs to have somebody in the front front and center, giving the news of the week are frequent enough to where this shit's not relevant anymore. Second thing that needs to happen is people need to not stop being so fucking stupid and believing everything that comes across your screen. All right? That's the two things. If those two things ever happen, whatever news outlets will have to steer their content and their credibility towards that. All right? Because they cannot exist in the face of actual companies putting out information with what they're giving you. All right? They run the risk of looking real stupid. And us fans who follow that nonsense continue to look stupid. We're like dogs chasing our tail for our master's amusement. That's where we are with these trades and these scoopers. We're literally like fucking pets. All right? Aim the laser here, I'm going to go there. Aim the laser there, I'm going to go there. Forget that, I should have some kind of intelligence to figure out, why is this asshole laughing at me on the couch pointing this laser? I feel stupid. Am I stupid? That's where we need to get. So I would say a good 60% of the problem is fandom and what they're willing to believe and where they're willing to go for news. The other half, or the other 30 to 40%, is literally the people who are saying, okay, I have a group of people who will eat shit. Guess I'll serve them shit. You demand better, they might do better. So yeah, there you go. All right, I see. Well, I can't wait till you can talk again, because I can put you on one of these squares with me, RJ. There's a reason trades are where studios make announcements like Gun, CEO, DC Studios, and why they're the ones who get exclusive. That doesn't make that doesn't absolve them for the shit, though. I mean, there's a reason why. It's because these people in these trades and these magazines have built up a historical presence, most of which was valid. All right, most of these trades built their credibility up decades before the internet even existed, or before the internet was relevant. They built their reputation on solid shit. They're using that reputation for bullshit. All right. And the studios are a part of it. And I just told you right now, the studios stop going to these guys. Why can't you, if you're a multi-billion-dollar Fortune 500 company, studio, magnet, whatever the hell you are, why are you giving your information to be misinterpreted? Because a lot of the times it doesn't really have the structure when you're playing the game of telephone. I don't know how many times a source is given something to these guys and they pretty much left out some stuff when they went with the headlines. All right, so the reason is why at one point, yeah, they were all credible because they all had a journalistic standard that they could not swerve from, or they would lose their credibility. But now in the era of TMZ, now in the era of Joe Bob, like me or somebody with a computer in front of them to be able to spread news, they're literally finding themselves on the same barnyard as the rest of these guys are. They got to get in the mud with the little guy now and act like the little guy, because otherwise they lose their relevancy. And basic news like James Gunn, the CEO, that's a little bit different than, because that's like an announcement. They put that stuff to the trades as an announcement. The stuff that they've been putting out the last couple of weeks or even the last few years has been stuff from unknown whatevers. All right, unknown sources, which, okay, great. But when it came to announcing James Gunn and Safran as studio heads, that's not unknown information. That's coming straight from Zaslav. That's fact. Anybody, great that they were the first ones to do that. But that is not, there's no gray area there. It's when they get to the gray area where your journalistic integrity needs to hold up is where we're starting to lose the game here. I don't think the trades are as bad as our Raggy Creek sites or BS mongers. Okay. There may be one or two that dabble in nonsense more, but the Hollywood Reporter is the best, in my opinion. The best amongst what, though? And yeah, I do put them in the same category, not necessarily in quality, but and remember, it's where the consumers hold them. It's not where I put them. It's where the consumers put them. At the same consumer that'll believe or read a half article and walk away with a whole story for some reason are the same people who take information from some of these raggy geek sites. It's the desperation. The common denominator is the desperation to get information from wherever you can get it from, as fast as you can get it from them. That's what is puts these guys on equal footing. Of course, Hollywood Reporter is better than Joe Bob's blog, but to the consumer who's not using common sense, it does the same damage. The same amount of damage that's being done by these half articles is to me is equal to the misinformation being done by these other guys, because we have so many people who will take both of them far more serious than they should. All this stuff, it should have been. When we read that article last week, how many times did I say grain of salt? I said grain of salt as many times as they said probably, or rumored to be, or hypothetically. All right. Literally, I'm reading something that is supposed to be informational, and I have to have those disqualifiers in there. You either have a fact, you either have a truth, or you don't. And if you give me a half truth, I mean, why? You leave space for other people to fill in bullshit, and then you're just as big as a problem as they are. All right. As much as paragraphs as you're talking, RJ, you need to get your voice back and get online, son. I think The Rock and Seven Production have weaponized Deadline to act as their official PR mouthpiece. I think they leaked Cavill's SEC for negotiation. Oh, we knew that. We knew that they leaked because they were dealing with fucking morons at the time. Not necessarily Zazoff, who was in power at the point, but they had been dealing with idiots for 6 years to the point where it was time for him to get that power play. And I agreed with him for doing that because we wouldn't. I mean, there's no excuse for Cavill sitting on the backbench for 5 years. He shouldn't have gotten 5 to 6 years of no's. So he shouldn't have had to resort to that. All right, as far as Deadline, hit another trade. To be honest with you, it really, the stuff that they're talking about, once again, we've handed over the business numbers, operations, and how we feel about what Black Adam drew and didn't draw to these sources. All right, to these people who are not part of the people who are doing the counting, don't have a stake in the game, probably not a stockholder, and these trades and these YouTube channels they're the ones weaponizing the information, in my opinion. I mean, Time Warner, wow, old school. Warner Brothers Discovery is the last word on this. They have the numbers, and when they tell us which one it is, just like Peacemaker was the biggest success in the world, we'll never see the numbers for that. I never heard any numbers disputing what a success Peacemaker was. We were willing to go from Samba, which goes for terrestrial TVs. That I didn't watch one-ish episode of Peacemaker on my TV, but yet I'm going to go with those numbers. So why should I believe anybody at this point as far as the number goes, unless Warner Brothers Discovery or HBO Max or whatever decides to make them public? I mean, why I have just as much reason to believe The Rock, who was part of the movie, than I do to believe Puck Magazine. I mean, what are Puck, whatever, or any of these guys? Every one of these guys has their agenda. I mean, what's the news worth? There was no worthy news in trying to put any of that out. So I don't know. Yeah, it's all speculation. And like I said, we're having to do a lot of speculation because I be honest with you, I just don't, a grain of salt. A grain of salt. And you can hear the adjectives, you can hear the text when you're reading some of these articles. You can clearly see from the wordage that they use where they're coming from and where they want to go. And once I start seeing certain keywords, I stop taking you seriously. All right? It's just like when I see a YouTuber's thumbnail. When I see a stupid-ass thumbnail, I automatically know I'm not watching that show. And it can be a show that I watch all the time. And I watch a lot of YouTube shows. During the pandemic, I just built a catalog of it. And once I see a stupid-ass thumbnail, I usually don't watch that show. Sometimes I do, but mostly I'm like, it's a trigger point. Our media, whether it be the trades or the random Joes, have found out, like I said, the plane crashing is far more entertaining than what happens the majority of the time. But I can't report to you about a plane landing safely. Wow, that's fucking boring. I got to report to you the end of the world every day. I got to get you guys tied up in knots because, you living peacefully, I don't get clicks on that. You running your head into a wall. Wow, that's fun. You chasing that laser and coming back to me for more torture. That's where my revenue comes from, and that's both the trades and that's both the non-trades. Like I said, I hold them in the same regard as far as the damage that they've done to communities and fan bases. And I also hold more than anybody responsible the fans themselves. All right, use some common sense. When you hear something and you have to ask yourself questions about what you just read, remember that. All right, when you read an article from a trade that leaves you with more questions than anything, remember that. All right, take all of that into context, and when it's time to make your decision, where you want to get your information from, remember the track record of some of these guys. It's and a lot of people gloss it over, and they continue to get away with it, to be honest with you. They continue to put out half information, people go back and lick their balls. They continue to put out misinformation, people come back and lick their balls because there's the trades. I'm like, wait a minute. If you shit in my face a couple of times, I don't give a fuck who you are. I'm not going to listen to you as closely as I once did. I was a subscriber to Rolling Stones before we even had. I inherited a subscription from my dad, and I've had a subscription from Rolling Stones. I remember what Rolling Stone used to mean. I remember what the Hollywood Reporter, when it first came about, because it's more recent, we used to mean when that stuff came out. Now they're in the same, bowl is these other guys, and they're competing with them. They're all competing for your desperity. They're all competing for your, to fill that vacuum of non-information with half information. So yeah, they're up there with me. So okay, listen, jackasses, you guys in this boomer, fuck everyone, you guys that calls me a boomer. I am a proud Generation Xer, goddammit. My dad is a boomer. Don't make me pull up a calendar and the cutoff. You damn millennials think you're funny. Damn Krampus. And that's a hilarious thumbnail, by the way, Krampus. I should be able to talk again, hopefully, by the end of the week. Yeah, man. Plus, we got to talk wrestling. Plus, it's like, I want to get your comments in real time because I think about you all the time when these trades, because there's a couple of people in our community that really, believe the trades, and that's fine. I'm not saying to throw them out completely. I'm just saying grain of salt, guys. Grain of salt. And there's key words in these articles, and we could do an entire stream on these articles and see the key words that say, okay, let me plant a flag here and go back to that, because that sounds like some bullshit. And like I said, that the Hollywood Reporter article from last week was one of the worst. All right, one of the worst. It left itself open for so much interpretation, and I think a good article just doesn't do that. So that's just me. All right, I do think we're seeing emphasis more on opinion pieces on our online news media, content creation across the board. People like hearing opinions from very loud mouths of persuasion, and that's fine. And here's the thing about an opinion piece. If I say, I'm just going to make a joke about RJ, I think your eyes are too far apart, and I think I don't like the glasses you wear. I think you suck. But that's clearly an opinion. It's a joke. I don't think any of those things. But that's clear. If I say, WWE puts out a shitty, product. I kind of believe that. I mostly believe that. But that's my opinion. Now, when you preface something that this is my opinion, this is an editorial, that's one thing. You can have as many of those as possible, even if you intertwine it with the news. If you are clearly presenting yourself as an opinion, as an editorial, that's fine. As long as you're not trying to lead it as masqueraded as news. If you're talking about the news and giving an opinion about the news, and you are clearly doing that, that's one thing. But when you're reporting on sources and presenting the news, that needs to be black and white, because, like I said, we just like we used to have in the news when Cronkite or Tom Brokaw, whenever these guys went off the reservation from the facts and started talking about their opinions, you saw a scroll below their name saying this is an editorial. and the views don't represent so and so. And we don't do that anymore. We just spit it out there as news. And now these trades are talking the same way a fanboy would. And I don't need that. Why am I going to go to you, for that? If you're going to give me an opinion piece, tell me that it's opinion piece. Now I can determine whether I want to listen to you or not. But if you're feeding people news under the guise of news, then put the news out there. All right. And if you don't have the information, don't fill your article with shit that you admittedly don't know whether it's true or not. The guy that you're talking about should not have to come out on Twitter 24 hours and later and clarify that some of the shit you said is not true and some of the shit you said is half true. Oh, and by the way, some of it was true, but those other two things shouldn't be happening. All right. If you can't put it out there, don't give me filler. Give me what you know to be true and leave the filler for somebody else. Leave the filler for your opinion page. Common sense should be adopted more. Yeah, common sense. And like I said, even what I'm saying about the trades, it's up. The trades will go the direction of their consumer. If their consumer starts acting like a upright standing human being that can disseminate information and decide for themselves what's stupid or not, if they hold those trades to a higher standard, just like I say with the YouTubers, all right, there's nobody holding a gun to your head to watch these people putting out this information. That is a decision. You are deciding, these guys have hundreds and thousands of followers in some cases. All right. These guys are making money in super chats. They're making money in all kinds of things. And they can't do that without you. If there's somebody out there that's putting out false stuff and he's continuing to get viewers, that means that viewer is zeroed in on what that guy's giving him and nothing else. He's not doing the work to go listen. Google's not 100%, but at least gives you a different crosshash of things that are talking about. You can get different points of view. You can hear the other side. But if you've decided to zero in on the misinformation and stay there, how can I blame the trade or the person giving it to you? I can't blame the scooper. If nobody's holding a scooper accountable for the news he's putting out and they continue to listen to him and he has thousands of followers or whatever, I can't blame them. It's up to the customer to say, no, I don't think I'm going to go for that. All right. And when that supply and demand goes down, then that person will be like, okay, I need to refine my information. And it's the same thing with the trades. All right. If people stop buying the Hollywood Reporter or stop clicking on the Hollywood Reporter and start going to other news sources that, are a little bit more coherent, or start listening to the horses' mouths themselves, that's going to take away a lot of the wind out of these trade sales. It's up to the customer. The customer has to be smarter. Chappie. Hey, how you doing, Chappie? Daniel Martin, I'm doing okay. I got to give my review for Violent Night, by the way, right before we go. Holy shit, that movie is as advertised. My God. James Gunn is what DC needs. He's a creative and knows how to treat directors and also talks to fans all the time. Keeping him away from Marvel is smart too. Peter Safran will handle the business. And don't forget, Peter Safran's also, he's a producer. He's been, knee deep in these movies too. Like I said, when it comes to James Gunn, I have become a believer of his ability to tell a story and to respect a story structure. I hope he doesn't do a reboot. We've gone over that. I hope he doesn't do some kind of reset. But given what we have endured as fans, if I gave Hamada and if I gave Sarnoff and if I gave Emmerich, if I gave Tishihara, I know I pronounced his name wrong, RJ, if I gave all these people 5 to 9 years, I can give James Gunn and Peter Safran at least a couple. That, and guess what? If they do a reboot and I give it a couple of swipes at it and I don't like it, worst case scenario is I don't watch anymore. All right, I just don't watch, and that's for everybody. If James Gunn and Peter Safran produce something you don't like, you have the nuclear button. You have all the power. You have more power than they do. If you decide, it's not for me, and just don't watch it, somebody's going to have to make an adjustment. But I do think they deserve that opportunity to put their product in front of me before I fire James Gunn. # fire James Gunn for what? Maybe someday we'll get there. Ridiculously. Someday, maybe one day it will be time to fire James Gunn. but not before he's got a chance to show me this thing. All right, we've been speculating a lot about what's coming without knowing a lot, and we've let these trades and scoopers and online wizards shape our perception about what's coming before it gets here, and that's an old fucking game. That's the BVS game. That's the Justice League game. That's the game that these marks played in the early 2013, 14, 15, and 16, where they would shit on everything before it was even done. They were shitting on BVS at the concept phase. Forget about when the movie first came out. I remember we promoted that movie. All right. I remember what I heard prior to BVS. I remember people shitting on BVS before there was even a trailer out. All right. Because we had these guys back then who I guess got a mythical paycheck from Disney and Marvel, or Marvel at the time, saying if you shit on everything that comes out of DC, we're going to send you a check. I hope you guys got your checks because you made yourselves look stupid for a good 7 or 8 year period. We've moved past that now. All right. We don't, the little team games are not, they're still there, but they're not as much there all the time. So we got a different environment now that I think that we should have learned from the way idiots torched DC movies before they even came out, and to not torch what James Gunn's doing before he's even got a chance to give us his idea, not let alone a movie, his idea. Take it as it comes. If it sucks, I'll get up on the show and I'll say, you know what, this blows. But if it's good, I'll say it's good. And if it's a reboot that he lays out and says, hey, William, not me personally, but hey, I know this is a path that is usually fails, but here's my idea and here's how I think it can work. And he lays that plan out to everybody. I think he deserves that. All right. If we gave all these other knuckleheads the time of day, we should give him his chance. Even if it includes some shit in it that makes me want to vomit, let me take a look at it. Let me absorb it as a fan, as a consumer, and then we go from there. But fire James Gunn, that's fucking stupid. Stop it. I saw that. I saw a petition too. Saw a petition of fire James Gunn and replace him. I'm like, that's the kind of stuff that makes us look bad. All right, Daniel Martin, I'm definitely pulling back some really until I actually see these movies on screen. Someone asked James Gunn if he liked Affleck as Batman. He said, I do. Batman confirmed. It is exhausting. And like I said, that's why I'm pulling back, not from necessarily the news, because I do think it's important for us to get amped up and hyped up. I think the perception of these movies is as important as the movies themselves, like I just explained before. But I think him communicating that, the previous management didn't back their filmmakers. So it was impossible for a director to come out or a producer to come out and give you that kind of hype. Now the president of DC Studios is the hype master. So I think I am going to pay attention to the news. And like I said, long before the movies come out, he needs to have won us over. The plan needs to win us over as much as the movie does. Because like I said, great movies don't mean shit if nobody's excited about them and if even less people see them. There's a lot of great movies that have had a lot of empty cinemas to them, that deserved better, but they weren't handled right. They weren't marketed right. And the plan leading up to them was not coherent. Some of my favorite movies have met that fate. So yeah, but I do agree, Daniel. We need to step back and give him a shot, and take these things. Every time an article comes out, listen, and I may be as guilty of it as well, but I don't need to see a stream every time one of these trades put out an article. If all they're going to do is take that for gospel. The good ones, there are some good ones out there that can discuss these articles with a grain of salt. All right. One I listen to on a daily basis, Dave the Film Junkie. He's one of the guys, I always say him and Chris Swanson, and then Campia himself, inspired me to even do any of this, to even become part of this. I watch this up, and you hear he'll talk about these articles, and he takes it with a grain of salt. He'll report what the article says, but then he discusses it in a way that, it either stands on its merits or it doesn't. And then he'll ask the questions about it. So Campia, who I watch on a daily basis, he's a little bit more tighter with the trades. but he still will dissect things on a common sense basis. He takes the trades a little bit more gospel than I would like to hear sometimes because, like I said, he's had to report on things that they've said that weren't 100% true. So, Jacob McKenzie, how you doing? William, what's your thought on Henry Cavill was in LA seeing Avatar 2? He was always in the UK, and Ben Affleck was spotted at Warner Bros. Who knows, man? Who knows? I can only hope. I mean, but remember, Hollywood's a hub for everything that they're living. All the major studios are in Hollywood, so most of these guys have homes out here anyway. Cavill, I know, has a home out here. Ben are out now here, and I'm in Vegas. Most of these guys have homes, and they split their time, and their spouses are living out on the coast. So it could just be for business. It just could be because you know what, they are Hollywood elites, or they could be talking to people. Like I said, I'll be so glad when we don't have to either be like, hey, I saw so and so get off his private plane. I wonder if that means this or that. When they start putting out enough information to where we can be like, nah, okay, But my thoughts are, listen, personally, and I don't have any scoop. I don't have any background in it. I just looking at what I see in front of me. I think Cavill is your Superman going forward. That's my personal belief. All right. I do not feel as strongly about everything else because I don't know. There are a lot of factors about everything else. But I think Cavill is your Superman. I think that was something that was probably decided, even if it was before Gunn and Safran were hired, because of the emphasis that they put on Superman. And they have all the data in front of them about how hard it is to get people to warm up to a Superman over the last 40 years. All right. And so I personally think Cavill is your Superman, but I could be wrong. Okay, we're at 39 minutes, so gonna get close to wrapping things up. Fifth call, Con. I hope a whole bunch of people don't start bugging Gunn trying to force a scoop out of him. After he responded to the scooper, just turned around and made the whole video. That particular scooper basically, and you know what? I can't even blame that guy because he knew he could turn around and game his audience. He knew his audience was so desperate for controversy and information that he knew he had a market to do exactly what he did. If his audience said, you know what, this is clown car shit, then he wouldn't have made the video. But he knows he has a market. I don't blame that guy. It's brilliant, actually. But there are a whole lot of people out there that do that. And as far as listen, James Gunn is a grown-ass man. He's going to have the discipline to not respond to everybody. It looks like he's doing it strategically. I mean, I'm pretty sure as he gets busier, he'll have less time. But his comments and ambiguous and vague responses have more credibility than a lot of the information that these guys are putting out, elsewhere. So, okay. What's going on, Anthony? How you doing? William, I'm sick of the trade saying the same thing every day. Reboot. Like, Jesus, stop. We don't know until we hear from James Gunn. And that's where I'm at right now. I do not want to reboot. You guys know that. I think reboot is synonymous with stupid. That's what I think. But I'm not the storyteller. At the end of the day, I am not the storyteller. I am the consumer. He has his place, and I have my place. His place is to present me something that engages me and gets me to pull my wallet out and spend. My place is to judge what he gives me and decide whether I want to go on or not. So if he does a reboot, even though I detest reboots because of especially DC reboots and all levels, and I think there's going to be a colossal waste of time that nobody has, I'm going to give it a shot because, like I said, I'd be hypocritical in saying I wanted to change, I wanted a new person, and when that guy got here, I didn't give him a shot. So I'm going to give it a shot. So, yeah, but once again, like I said this the other night, reboot is a word that people bandy about. And it's like, people say plutonium or something. They don't know what the fuck that is. All right. It's people using words that they don't understand the consequences of those words being put into action. It's lazy and it's stupid. Reboot. Yeah, just reboot everything. Let's reboot everything because I can't wrap my fucking brain about around solving a complex problem. So let's just reboot it. It's like a little kid on an Etch-a-Sketch. Oh, I can't figure out how to draw this damn square. Let me shake it up and start over again. We're not fucking 4-year-olds. things are going to get hard. They're going to get complex. Make a hard decision. That's my opinion on it. And I think that whether he does a reboot or not, the people who are using the word reboot and the trades and the other YouTubers that are using reboot over and over, I don't think they understand. They can't understand the consequences of these things. You're not going to get another shot at this. All right. You're not going to get a shot. You're already dealing with credibility issues by even thinking about doing a reboot. So, yeah, it's a cool word to throw around, but like I said, it's like somebody reading a book, seeing something on a TV show, a smart word, and then going around thinking that they're smarter because they can use that word. All right. There are consequences financially involved in a reboot, credibility involved in a reboot, and overall perception of your program and your product going forward in a reboot. It is not a word that should be thrown around like that. All right. So, yeah. And remember, this is time. This is not just money. This is time. People are investing their time into this. People don't like to be told that their time has been wasted. And reboot is in a different language is telling me that everything I just invested to has been wasted, not because it wasn't any good. That perception is bullshit, but because the people who were running it at the time were too stupid to put it together. So now I, as somebody who bought into that for all these years, gets to pay for that. You know what? So no, yeah. But like I said, once James Gunn puts his plan out, I don't think he's going to reboot. But if he does, I'm going to give it the time of day. And if it looks like something that has a chance, or it looks like something I can engage into, I'll stick around. But if it doesn't, I'll just you know what? I have HBO Max. All right. I don't have to watch these movies when they come out. If I don't think that if I don't feel pulled by them or pulled by the entire concept, I don't have to watch them. Or I can watch them on HBO Max. I can get the physical media when it's time. Like I said, the ultimate decision is up to you as a fan. You don't have to worry about what James Gunn is putting out. Once he puts it out, you just have to make a decision on whether you're going to continue or not. Hopefully he puts something. I would like to see him bring the fan community together by going a new direction, but at the same time respecting what's been there before. I do think it's monetarily important to have that lineage go all the way back to 2013. And I've explained why on other shows, So, yeah, we got to wait for him. And like I say, now that he's out here, now that I hear from James Gunn a little bit more frequently than I hear from all these other guys, all these other studio heads, less and less do I have any time for the other guy. If the horse's mouth is speaking, everybody else is an ass at this point. So, Cisco, just because Gunn said he likes Batfleck doesn't mean he will continue on with his version of Batman. That's true. That's true. That would be unfortunate, but it's true. And once again, another instance of time being wasted. People's time being wasted, and when you waste people's time, they're probably really hesitant to give you more time. It's just the nature of the beast. These trades only let what leakers on the studio. I'm going to assume you said studio give them. It's controlling the narrative, and part of the person providing the trades with the info is agenda. Trade writers are mouthpieces. In some cases, yeah. But if you read these trades and you read these articles, when they start going off on their own tangent, and we start hearing the hypothetically and the probablys and the maybes, that's not from the leakers. That's them forming their own opinion based on the half information that they've been given. And they basically cut the half information that they've gotten, cut it in half, and now they're throwing us the scraps. So, yeah, they're mouthpieces to a certain point, but a lot of that is them. Violent Night is listen, dude. Once I get further in the chat, I'm going to give a review of Violent Night. This is my new favorite Christmas movie. This is my new favorite. It's kind of like Die Hard, but except it's actually a Christmas movie. Die Hard is not a Christmas movie. Do not fight me on this. I'll time you out. No, I'm just kidding. This movie, the violence is glorious. I grade movies on a 3D scale, which is death, dismemberment, and destruction. Holy shit. This movie has more than I might have been able to handle. I've been watching horror movies all my life. Saw my first horror movie when I was 7. there's not too much you can get me to go like this. That entire movie is an oh shit moment. And I was literally screaming out, oh shit. They're killing people to Christmas music. There's people being just blown up and killed in just in all sorts of ways. While there's a Bryan Adams Christmas Carol song playing in the back while Santa is going to town with a sledgehammer. I teared up. All right. This was the movie I needed. I don't like Christmas movies. I don't ever pay to see Christmas movies. I watch them. It's a Wonderful Life. Christmas Story, You'll Shoot Your Eye Out. Okay. In Home Alone, the implications when you watch Home Alone, the implied pain, the implied injury, the cartoonish results of all the booby traps and stuff in those movies, there's no implication in Violent Night. They do the same shit that they do in those movies, except what's supposed to happen to you when things hit you happens to you. I mean, and they don't, there's no zooming away from the camera, by the way. Like in some movies, like say when a hammer hits a head or somebody gets thrown into a shedder, the camera goes away and you see the blood splatter on the wall. No. They make sure that they got the camera on the violence. It was beautiful. Santa's a kick-ass in this one. And I love David Harbour no matter what. But this is my new favorite Christmas movie, man. I mean, the death count. Dude, okay. So there's so much killing. There's so much killing. And I'm not going to spoil it for you. There's so much killing that other characters had to be brought in just to be killed because there was so much killing. They ran out of people to kill. That's what happens. So, go Cisco. You're going to, if you're into action, you're into violence, and you're into that kind of fun, and you're not just squeamish. There's some violence in there that just there's eye violence. There's general. I mean, it's just there's some. Like I said, I've seen it all, and I was holding on to my seat. And one particular scene where a guy gets injured in a particularly graphic way, I thought I had my seat reclined, and I thought I was going to pop up and go over to the side. And I've seen it all. This movie was awesome. Not for the whole family. Okay, not for the whole family at all. It's not even for some adults. I loved Violent Night. I wore my little hat too. I'll show you guys a picture of that. But yeah, Violent Night was good. Gunn is the talent. However, he needs to expand his writing and screenplay skills and to provide more depth and compelling material. Stop relying on locker room. I actually think Gunn is a lot more capable than what he's shown us. It's all that's been asked of him. There's a lot of people out there that have made certain types of movies that are capable of much more. It's just not been demanded of them. The mandate hasn't been given down. I always say Jonathan Demme, rest in peace, did romantic comedies and dramedies and shit. And nothing that he did would ever prepare me for the fact that this guy could write, our direct Silence of the Lambs, which is one of the greatest horror movies of all time. Definitely one of the greatest serial killer movies of all time. That came from the guy who gave me Married to the Mob. I never thought that Heath Ledger had a dimension inside of him that could give me the Joker, judging from what he's. So these actors and these professionals, don't be careful because what they've shown you is not necessarily, when they get control of things, and they've been given a different mandate and they've been given a different goal, I think most of these guys can do what is required of them if the moment arises. And I think James Gunn's the same way. Okay, so we're closing in on 1, so I'm going to start wrapping it up a little bit here, guys. How you doing, Larry? Krampus. Yeah, that was so silly. I remember that whole leak and when he was not supposed to leak it and all this stuff, and that was one of his sillier moments. Gunn's going to basically use his model playbook by using the Flash. And perhaps Aquaman 2 the soft reboot. Only difference is that he will use a whole. I don't know. I don't know. Hamada's playbook wasn't very good, so I'm hoping that he doesn't use as much from that as people thinking. And the Flash would be the proper tool if you wanted to realign things. The Flash is a perfect tool to do it because he's the only character that they can give you that. But look at the wonders that Flashpoint's done for DC Comics, so be careful there too. All right. So let me get to some of these other guys. All right. Do you think after director Zack Snyder contract ends when mid 2023, do you think it's a possibility that he can come back to DC and direct Justice League Part 2 and 3? There's nothing stopping him now. The contract that he has with Netflix is a first look deal, which means that any original concept he goes through Netflix first. Like Rebel Moon is his original concept that goes through that. Anything he comes up within a certain amount of time goes through Netflix first. However, should he decide to do a DC project, that first look deal does not apply. Is the way I've been explained to me, because Netflix would have to get permission from DC to even look and even consider that, because DC properties are not, unless they're licensed to, like Sandman, to Netflix, they are owned by them. So if Zack Snyder wanted to do a Justice League 2 and 3, he would not have to. His contract does not stop him from doing that. His workload, if he's shooting these things back to back, might preclude him from doing it. But the contract itself, no, he can work on DC. From what I understand, Netflix can't stop him from working on DC projects because they don't own. There's no way they could have first look at an IP that they don't own unless they were given permission to by DC, which would nullify the first look. But if he wanted to, he could. If they wanted to, he could. I mean, they can make that happen. But, his workload might be as such that he doesn't want to do it. And to be honest with you, he may have moved on. Who knows? I don't hear a lot from Zack Snyder as far as how he's always said if somebody asked him, to come back. But who knows where we're at? I don't think he would be back simply because by the time Gunn lays his groundwork, there might be parts that where we were referencing Snyder, especially if he keeps these characters. But who knows? I mean, who knows the conversation being happened? But yeah, the Netflix conflict doesn't, in my, the way I understand it, does not preclude him from doing other things. It just it excludes him from doing original content. All his original content they get first look, but they can't have first look on DC because they don't have the rights to do anything with DC. All right. James Gunn doesn't like people making stuff up and saying it's true. If you make speculation, that's a different story. But for people who are saying stuff happening that's not, they're lying about sources. Yeah, across the board. Quick to add a hard boot is just lazy talk. I do think he will aim at soft reboot after the Flash and these Flashpoint as a multiverse. It's tough to say right now. Like I said, my opinions about reboots are that they're lazy. And I'll say this again, I will evolve if I'm shown a groundwork that gives a relevant base going forward that I think that, I can engage in. I will put my money down. From my life experiences, especially with DC, especially with reboots on film and on TV shows in general, most reboots fail. Most reboots are a waste of time themselves, and they signify a waste of time prior. I'm just not for it. However, I'm going to allow myself to be open to what James Gunn has, and then like I said, I'm done with the speculation game, because like I said, every time somebody says something that's supposed to know something, he comes out and says something that that is contrary to that, and he's the guy behind the pen. So the speculation game is kind of getting crazy. Marvel messed up on some films, and not everyone liked those certain MCU movies that never rebooted. They kept going forward. Other studios have done this well before an MCU was. Yeah, you stay consistent with your product. You back your filmmakers, and when you run into something complicated, you figure it out. Like I said, reboot is just when you don't want to use the percentage of your brain that is required to salvage something. You just throw your hands up in the air and reboot. But like I said, it's a tired act. And not just because DC hasn't done a bunch of reboots on cinema stuff, but what they have done is they've left a bunch of roads unfulfilled. And if you reboot, that's the same thing as rebooting 10,000 times. When you don't finish what you started and you're about to start over again, this isn't what I just said. I just realized that while hearing it. When you don't finish what you started and you're going to start over, that sounds as stupid as it is. And that's basically what reboots are at this point for DC. They have this big elephant in the room that they did not complete, that people are still, that they wasted people's time with, but they're going to start over again. You know what? My money doesn't grow on trees. And even the general audience is like, you know what? They don't have to be inside with us to know that they haven't seen Superman on the screen in 5 years. All right. They don't need to be in here with us to know that, especially because a lot of these people came along and saw these movies. They know that there was no resolution to any of this stuff. They don't have to be on YouTube. They don't have to be on Twitter. Simple. They're going to disengage a lot easier than we ever would, just based on those factors. They have two products. One of them, regardless of what you think about the quality of MCU movies, and I have some issues with most, about half of their quality, they began, they continued, and they finished. That's a product in one hand. The product in the other hand has begun, got meddled with, hasn't finished, and is about to start over. Now, if this is all about perception of brand up against each other, you're fucking your brand by restarting things without any type of resolution. All right. And if I'm a general audience, forget about being a geek. Are you going to go for the thing that has built a trustworthy reputation of starting, beginning, and finishing, or the one that is about to reboot when it never finished what it started with in the first place? To me, it's an easy decision. Yeah. And I think there's a way to do this. Like I said, I got to show what I would do with DCEU. I have a way, in my opinion, that would make everything that we've ever seen relevant and everything that's going forward relevant. And I think it would be a way to bring the fandom together so that they can appreciate both ends of things. But, I hope James Gunn's smarter than me when it comes to DC films. He's a filmmaker, so I'm going to let him do his thing. Too many reboots within a small amount of time frame will keep people away, and they won't be interested anymore. Stop with the reboots. 100% agree. Trade writers to in their opinions and fill in the blank. We'll say, yeah. Give me the news and give it to me straight. If you want to write an opinion piece, write an editorial. All right. So Latino saying, "Whoa, Christmas came early, William." Oh my God, I got this, dude. I had to cleanse my mind after that one just to be able to write my review on it. It is, and the backstory for Santa is really cool. It's the coolest. I didn't grow up obviously needing a backstory for Santa Claus, but I got one in this movie, and it's cool. Oh, and John Leguizamo. I've seen him in all kinds of stuff. He's at his best in this movie. The movie is over the top, goofy, and it's like a Saturday night, a slightly more serious Saturday Night Lights. Get how these family treats each other. They're horrible people, but it's not too over the top. But yeah, John Leguizamo as an enemy, he plays an enemy called Mr. Scrooge. That's his code name. He's great in this. And Beverly D'Angelo was in it. I didn't even recognize her until the end. She plays the grandmother. It's great. This movie is about as close to Santa Mortal Kombat as you're going to come. The deaths in this movie, there's so many ways that people die in this movie. It's brilliant. Everything is used. Everything is used to kill people. People die in this movie in all manners. And there's dismemberment. There's every way that you think somebody could get torn apart and killed in a movie. It happens here, and it's beautiful. All right, Larry, I'm definitely psyched for Violent Night. Sounds like a blast. William, you should check out Quarter Crew R-rated versions of Home Alone and Marvel stuff. Okay, I'll check that out. But yeah, get hyped for Violent Night, man. Like I said, so do I. And still it's right now. Violent Night is my favorite Christmas movie. This one. Okay, so those were serial killer movies. So those were my favorite horror movies. This one's not as much a horror movie as it is it's an action movie, which obviously with fantasy because he is Santa Claus. It's not somebody dressed up. He's Santa Claus. He's Nicodemus. That's fair. I'm a little bit more open-minded with this, but that's fair. I mean, it's we have nothing to really go on. So that's fair, you know. But like I said, my only thing is for everybody who says this, if you do see something, you know, maybe it'll change your mind. All right. Oh yeah, they did make it up. Some of them are shit though. Fourth. How you guys doing? Let's see. I could see it. Like I said, I want to know but how it ends. I want to know how it ends. But like I said, there's a lot of ways to get to the ending that Zack Snyder set out without necessarily him being involved or it necessarily being that tight movie. There's a lot of creative ways to do it. But hold on, guys. I'm going to refill my water real quick. So I am going to mute. I'm going to give me like 1 minute. Talk amongst yourselves, and I'll be right back. Okay. Wow. I don't see how some of these guys can do like really like long streams. I never, maybe because they're off screen. They're drinking like a ton of water. But man, I just went through a whole 1 gallon just to this show. Snyder could also do a straight Dark Knight Return adaptation. Felt like the end of Zack Snyder Justice League was him pitching that. Yeah, he used, that's exactly the Dark Knight tank. You see the mutants in there. So yeah, I'd love to see that too. All right, Krampus Jeebus, I'll check it out. Yeah, just let's I just hope all things have been considered. And like I said, also a lot of the things are one thing that we're really leaving out here when it comes to some of the people that you guys that have to be pleased. Remember how these execs get when things don't go well immediately. One of the main reasons we're even here, a lot of the post Snyder stuff even happened was because you had a bunch of fucking bonehead execs that wanted $1 billion from everything that came out. So if he reboots and he reboots with a new Superman, remember how long it took for people to embrace Cavill. It's a character that takes time, and what you also got to understand is, and a lot of people are saying Lobo and all these other lower tier characters. Let's make a Lobo movie with Momoa and let's drop Aquaman, which is fucking dumb. But Lobo is going to pull in less money than Black Adam. Less people know who Lobo is than Black Adam. So if you're an investor and you get those kind of people who want to pull the plug if certain things aren't making a lot of money, it's important that the perception of his project and his product catches on and gets it going. Otherwise, we may not. What if we get something that we kind of like? If it doesn't, if we haven't pressed the right buttons, we're not going to get it anymore. All right, these assholes, the previous regime. Oh, we don't think this movie made a lot, and we didn't get it anymore. We went 5 years without Superman because their perception of what box office success and all that was, So we got to worry also about executives and stuff who aren't comic book fans, but just want to see their return on their investment. We got to worry about them when it comes to reboots too, because once you say reboot and once you start moving through smaller characters and stuff like that, you're basically giving up a lot of money and a lot of momentum and giving away to a very long process. And reboot sounds good if you don't know what the hell you're talking about. And like I said, it only takes oxygen to say reboot. It doesn't take brains to actually think it out. So when we're doing this, when they're making an explanation, any explanation that you guys want to give me for a reboot, consider that the guys financing this may not want to hear that. All right, they just want to see their money grow, and that reboot route is a long, arduous route that may not bring the quick bucks that are necessary to sustain all of this stuff. So just keep that in mind as well. Yeah. Could possibly see Snyder killing two birds with one stone with using Affleck. This is straight up Dark Knight Returns. And adaptation of timing is right for both those. There's a lot of possibilities that you can do. It's just going to be based on how what is going to happen is perceived too. Like I said, if he puts out this Bible and it's like a lot of people might just tune out then. All right. Okay, I can see Gunn doing a reboot. He's been given the keys to the kingdom. Why would he want to play with these last guy's toys, let alone let his reputation depend on those old toys? Because there's a lot of people who are playing with those toys as well. Those toys didn't belong to those old guys. Those toys and that time invested in those toys belongs to all of us, and we're part of the audience, and we're not just talking about us three presenters. The other people. Remember, the general audience is still seeing these movies. They may not be as fanatic about these movies as us, but they've seen these movies. They know what inconsistency is. They know what starting over again is, and they know what not having an ending feels like. So those toys belong to them too. So you're telling all of us who played with these toys that our shit didn't matter. Oh, but by the way, we want you to still come back and play. It's just credibility. It's credibility. It's not just about him. It's about the perception of the product and whether the perception of the product can handle a reboot. Maybe it can, maybe it can't. I'm leaning towards, even if it can, it's going to take longer than the people putting forth the cash are going to be willing to stomach. That's just my opinion. All right, Dark Knight Returns. Ooh, that's a lot of movies, Larry. All right, guys. I know there's a lot of I got through most of the chat, but yeah, I only meant to stay on for an hour, 45 minutes, and I'm starting to fade. Thank you guys for all being here for this short impromptu. I'm going to rename the midnight shows. I got a new name for it, and it's actually going to be a new show instead of just me being impromptu. I think I'm just going to do Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, or Sunday, Monday, 4 to 7 days, just to keep it consistent. That way you guys can plan your day around it. You'll know when I'm going on instead of me just popping up out of nowhere, and you'll be able to, plan a lunch break, or if you're living in a different coast or something like that, or if you're on another, like Anthony Grisby, you're on the other side of the world, you can plan for the show instead of me just popping up, and gives you a little bit more chance to jump in on live if you want to. So still working out the kinks and stuff, but yeah, like I said, just wanted to come in, say hi, talk about some of the stuff that was, the news. Hopefully James Gunn gives us more news. And then, like I said, I pretty much gave you my review of Violent Night. That movie's great. And I do want to start talking more wrestling, but I gotta make sure that the audience is down for it, because I don't want to bore you guys with wrestling stuff if you're not into it. So, but that's about it, guys. Thank you for being here, and I will more than likely see you tomorrow. And unless something, nothing goes on, more than likely I'll be here tomorrow. But like I said, once we get to everything set up, I'll be on. It'll probably be Sunday, Monday, and Thursday will probably be the dates that I do a permanent show, and I'll rename it and everything else. So, all right, thanks, guys.